Hello everyone. Thank you all for joining me here today. Now before we get into why we're here, let me ask you a question. Are you watching because you're curious? Because you have nothing else to watch? Or maybe you're just bored? Well, whatever answer you give will be your own opinion. And with that, we get into the main topic of this show, opinions, and how they affect you and others. But first, here's a little clip to get things started.
In many ways, opinions are exactly like this source of energy. Don't believe me? Well, that's your opinion, but let me see if I can change your mind. All opinions you have are usually inspired from something. Even you may not know what it is, but all opinions have some sort of a source, something that determines your opinions. Opinions usually tend to lead you to something, like a decision or a feeling, but everything changes, even your opinions. So the path to your decision or feeling will usually become less clear. However, in the end, it will always be you and you alone who decides where your opinions will lead you. Please try and keep this information in mind as you watch this video, and in the end, form your own opinion.
There are many different opinions in the world, and even more paths that those opinions can take you down. Keep in mind that these opinions usually will be the cause of something you have encountered in the past, with that being either where you were raised, what you grew up seeing, the types of people you hung out with. These are all building blocks that have led to you forming your own opinions over the years and will continue to do so until the end. Some of the most common opinions in the world focus around areas like politics, religion, and personal opinions. Political opinions have some of the greatest impact on the rest of the world. In fact, politics might have more of an impact on the world than just about anything else, since political opinions are usually the deciding factor on which candidate that you'll be voting for in the next election, or what political party you choose to side with, our choices being Republican, Democrat, or even an alternate third party. An example of a political opinion is if someone could be a strong supporter of the Republican Party, but the party is dealing with an issue in a way that the supporter does not approve of and in turn agrees with the Democrat Party on how to deal with the issue. This does not change the supporter's political affiliation. It is just evidence that their political opinion doesn't completely line up with the Republican Party's plans. But political opinions can make just as much an impact on the world as religion. Religious opinions can make just as big an impact, if not a bigger impact on the world than politics, because some people may believe more strongly in their religion than their political stance, which is just further proof of how greatly people are influenced by opinions. One way religion factors into opinions so much is because it, like opinions, factors into our belief system, or what we believe, and it should be safe to assume that everyone believes in something. Even if someone says they believe in nothing, that is still a belief on its own. There are many other different types of opinions that affect the world around us, like group opinions, but we'll get to those a little later. However, the opinions that most greatly affect a person in general will no doubt be personal opinions. These opinions are the deciding factor for everything that happens in a person's life, including their stance in their other opinions. If a person couldn't have personal opinions, then they would have no true opinions on anything. If I'm not being clear, please give me a chance to explain. All people are influenced by opinions, both by their own and others. But if a person couldn't form their own opinions, then they wouldn't truly be living. They would just be an empty shell. But if you need another example on how personal opinions factor into life, then please enjoy this short segment explaining how personal opinions affect everything about you.
Very few people actually realize just how much opinions affect their everyday lives. Some simple examples of this would be, which shirt would be best to wear for today? Should I study history for today or something else? And this is one of the more important examples, what's the best kind of company to keep? Sure, these are all simple day-to-day decisions, but in the end, it's your opinions that determine the answers to each of them, and no one can ever tell you otherwise.
Day-to-day decisions, personal preferences, these all relate to personal opinions. Other types of questions you could ask that factor into personal opinions would be, what should I eat for lunch today? Should I buy a car or a truck? What movie should I go see? These are all our questions that are answered by your own personal opinions. And while your personal opinions mainly affect you, there are other ways that your personal opinions can influence the world. One way that your personal opinions can influence the world is when your personal opinions become group opinions. Group opinions are just like they sound, when a group of people all share the same opinion and come together on it. There are several different types of this going on in the world, and many of them are extremely important. A good example of group opinions would be charity events. Charity events are a great type of group opinions because they usually help to bring more people together and seek to help those in need. The reason charity events and organizations can be considered group opinions is that the people who are in charge of them aren't trying to make money for themselves or their workers. They are usually just trying to raise money for those in need, and they have events to find others who have the same opinions and want to help out. For example, there are over 1 million different charities in the United States today, and there are going to be more as time goes on. While these programs won't always be focusing on the same problems as each other, there are a few things that all charities do tend to focus and agree on. They believe that there are people in the world that need to be helped, and they do believe that they can provide the means to help them. And they believe that they can inspire others to hear and support their cause. However, charities aren't the only type of group opinions. They are some of the most well-known, but even the things people don't know for certain can be strong opinions. I'll explain what opinions I'm talking about with a story. On November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy, or JFK for short, was visiting Dallas hoping to help improve political relations, but during his trip through Dealey Plaza, he was shot and killed by a lone gunman named Lee Harvey Oswald, who also killed a local police officer later the same day. JFK's death made headlines all across the United States. Like this one here. This wasn't simple news. This was a tragedy, and it completely shocked the public. And this story would have ended with Kennedy's death, but something else happened soon after. After JFK's death, Oswald was found and arrested by the authorities. However, he had denied having killed JFK and claimed that he was only a scapegoat for someone else. It was decided that Oswald would be moved from the city jail to the nearby county jail. But while he was being moved through the basement of the police headquarters to the armored car that would take him to the county prison, he was suddenly shot in the heart and killed by Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner who was in the crowd waiting to see Oswald escorted away. When asked for his motive, Ruby claimed that he killed Oswald to ease the suffering of Miss Kennedy. Ruby later died in 1967 due to health conditions. This brings me to the group opinion that I mentioned earlier, conspiracies. Conspiracies are some of the most well-known opinions of all time, and there have been countless of conspiracies popping up for years. The reason that we talked about the JFK assassination is because it is widely considered the greatest conspiracy of all time. Everything that I just told you about the JFK assassination is the official story for it. But to most people, there are too many things that don't make sense, and many people have had their own opinions of what really happened in Dallas that day. Some believe there was more than just one gunman shooting. In fact, some believe that there were several. Others can't believe that Oswald was able to fire all his shots in the time that was determined. Others have their own theories entirely, but all these theories can be considered opinions. For one important reason, no one knows the full truth of the JFK assassination for certain, and unless someone steps forward with 100% undeniable evidence to prove their own opinion, it is likely going to be a mystery that no one will be able to solve. But that hasn't stopped many people from trying, with experts all around the globe trying to figure out an opinion that both works and can be proven. There have been many different theories from that time up till now, and some of the more well-known opinions are that Kennedy was assassinated by the mob or the government, and that Jack Ruby was ordered by one of them to kill Oswald because he had information that they didn't want getting out. There are other theories that say key witnesses were killed to prevent them from talking as well, and that other key witnesses never came forward and simply disappeared. This just goes to show that what strong opinions that conspiracies can be. However, while not all conspiracies can be considered as strong as the JFK assassination, there are other conspiracies that can still be considered extremely important in the world today. Another well-known conspiracy that is actually quite popular these days is the opinion that global warming is a myth or a man-made incident. This global warming conspiracy, also known as climate change denial, has been around since the late 1980s and early 1990s, and usually involves people coming together with the opinion that the global warming is a hoax and that it was just made up as a sort of publicity stunt. Many scientific experts have come forward with different types of evidence to try and prove that global warming exists. However, it has been shown that these experts tend to be ignored or their theories disproved, which for the moment means that the situation is temporarily at a standstill, since there is no proof strong enough to show that global warming exists, and there is no way for the people to show that global warming doesn't exist. So for now, the opinions can just keep on coming. Now, there is something that I think should be mentioned. A lot of people might be watching this and thinking conspiracies can't be considered opinions. There are pieces of evidence to prove that they are true, and you are correct. A lot of evidence has come forward on conspiracy theories like the JFK assassination and global warming, but the problem is that those pieces of evidence haven't been enough to prove the full truth behind either of the cases. The only conspiracies that aren't considered opinions are the ones that have been clearly proven true or false. But in a way, those can actually still be considered opinions to some, since they can still believe in the conspiracy regardless of the outcome. Many of the opinions that we have discussed have all held importance to everyone in the world in some way, with that being either your stance on politics or religion. How you feel your personal life is affected, and ways that opinions can bring others together on certain matters. However, it should also be made clear that opinions can do just as much harm as good, and that sometimes you can't even tell which. Here's an example that I'm sure you've heard of at least once before. Two people can be great friends with each other and have just about everything in common, but they find out that they both support different political parties. One man supports the Republicans and the other supports the Democrats, and when they both find out about the other's political stance, they argue and dispute until they both just leave. Don't misunderstand the point. This can happen with more than just politics. A couple could want to go out and see a movie, but they can't agree on which movie they want to see. Two guys could be playing a game and are extremely competitive about it, or even going to the grocery store and trying to get the last box of your favorite cereal, but someone else reaches at it at the same time, and you both argue why it would be better for it to go to you. The point is that opinions don't just bring people together, they can also drive them apart. These are proof that while opinions can be extremely useful in your life, they can also be very dangerous. Also, never take the opinions of others for granted or make fun of them. Most people feel very strongly about their own opinions and can get very angry or defensive when their opinions are questioned. So if I may give a personal recommendation, always listen to others with an open mind and don't take any of their ideas for granted. Now, of course, you can choose to listen to my suggestion or you can choose to ignore it. But whatever you do, remember that in the end, it will be your choice and you will have your opinion for doing so. But I think I have been talking about opinions for just about long enough. But before we wrap this up, I think you might be interested in watching this one last clip. Check it out.
One last example on how opinions can affect you is a simple choice. Would you rather A, curl up at home with a good book, or B, go out and take a few risks? Both options can benefit you in some way, but only you can determine what is the best opinion for you. Personally, I gotta go for the slot machine. Aww. Oh well, back to the blackjack table for me. Have a good day, everybody.
Well, I think that just about wraps up our show of opinions for today. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and don't forget just how important opinions can be.